Hi learners, I am Dr. M. Subha, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Amet University, Chennai, presenting a lecture on report writing. Report writing is a formal documentation. We document the past happenings in a proper format. It's absolutely formal, so that it should be objective. That means the subjective I should be eliminated in the presentation. And the report should have a formal structure that we will see later. That there are different kinds of report writing, as it is explained by the Student Learning Center of Massey University, that there are some reports that present some information, data, okay, and the research reports, because reports are quite common in academic line and in professional space. In both the places, we do conduct some research or do some case study, report it for future reference, not only for future reference and also for betterment, improvement. When it is aimed at betterment, recommendations are also added in your report. Okay. So, it can be for mere information, or that you have conducted some research and you are documenting it, or else a case study that you have conducted and you report it and you provide your recommendations for further improvement. It can be any of these categories. When you write a report for information, for example, there is some program that's organized in your institution, you report it, you document it for future reference. You mention that the event's name, for example, it's a convocation ceremony, and who were all the chief guests, you will be mentioning their names, and how that the event was held, how did it go on, all those details you will be presenting. Okay, documenting it for the future reference. This report gives information about that event for future. Research, higher level research, undergraduation, post graduation, or doctorate, in any of these studies, we conduct some research, we document it in a proper formal way in the form of project or thesis. Okay. And it can be a case study or analysis or an investigation, that you have probed some investigation and you are presenting some document, some report, and further you suggest some future recommendations to rectify or make it better, okay, make the situation better, case better. It can be anything. Okay. Any report involves an investigation. Okay. You conduct some investigation and you analyze the data that you collect. By providing the investigation, by conducting the investigation, you are collecting some data. Okay. That data is to be analyzed and you conclude your study. Okay. In addition to the conclusion, you provide some recommendations also. Open Polytechnic Kuratini Tuvera explains that a report answers the question, what is it about? Okay. Why is it about, okay, and when did it happen, okay, who is it for, okay. It answers the question what, why, when and who. Okay. So, when a report answers these questions, it provides some information. You will have to collect the data or information to write a report. In order to collect the information, you will have to do a background study, or you can interview some people and collect the data, or you can observe people or happenings and collect the data. It can be any of these things. Once you have collected the information, you start drafting it in a formal report. Okay. Drafting is very essential because you submit it in black and white. So, drafting should go at least 2 times. So, that is why it is being written as draft and redraft. Okay. Anything that is submitted in black and white requires proofreading. So, 2 times very carefully, very meticulously it should be documented before submission. Format of your report. When you submit your report in black and white, it contains a title page. The title page gives the details about what is it about, what is the report about, okay, and by whom it is prepared and to whom it is addressed. In addition to that, your institution affiliation and the time, the date, month and year of the report. All these things should be included in the title page. Contents page is quite optional for any report. When it is an academic report, any research, the contents page is compulsory. Or else in other cases, informative report or a case study, the contents page can be optional. Okay. Then follows executive summary, which is an abstract. Abstract is the brief summary of the work that you have done. Okay. So, executive summary followed by introduction. You need to introduce the kind of work you have done. Okay. Terms of reference. Terms of reference is from where you have got this order of work. You would have got this intimation of work to be done from some proper channel, from some proper source. Okay. That is the reference, that so and so has allotted this work through some circular or some formal intimation to conduct a survey, to conduct research and document the findings. Okay. That is a reference. Procedure. What are the practical modes that you have implemented to collect data is the procedure. Findings and discussion. What are all your findings? Okay. You can present it in bulletins because this is a report. Unlike the essay that runs on in paragraphs, this is a report. So, in bulletins you can present the whole lot of report and especially your findings. If discussion is further required, you can add a little bit discussion whenever or wherever it is applicable. Okay. Then you conclude your report. After the conclusion, you provide the recommendation that these things have happened. To make it better, you suggest these measures. Those suggestive measures are your recommendations, followed by reference and appendices. Reference from the books or the publications, whatever the data that you collect falls under reference. And the appendices, suppose you are conducting an interview or for your case study you have collected some data that you are not able to incorporate that data into your report. Okay. That actual data can be attached in the form of appendix. So far we were looking at what to do and how to do when you write a report. Now, let us get into 2 sample reports. Sample report 1 is taken from the source Using English, a course book for undergraduate learners, India, Orient Black Swan. It starts, this is a formal report. Any university student, when a situation is given to write a report, can write it in this way. Okay. It is from Dr. Satya Prakash, Assistant Medical Officer, District Health Center, Aurangabad. Okay. Date, followed by date. Date is very essential. Then 2. It is addressed to Dr. Mehtab Akhtar, Chief Medical Officer, District Health Center, Aurangabad. Okay. The title. Okay. Title of this report is Deaths due to dengue fever. Okay. Something has happened. Okay. So, regarding that, Dr. Satya is submitting a report to Dr. Mehtab Akhtar. Terms of reference. As instructed by the Minister of State for Health, a survey was conducted to investigate reports of over 30 people dying of dengue fever in 4 villages in the district. Okay. That Minister of State has ordered to write this report, conduct a survey then write this report, okay, because it's documented that 30 people have died due to dengue fever. So that a proper remedy is the need of the hour, for which the minister has passed an order to conduct a survey and present the findings in the form of a report. Okay. Procedure. The writer visited the 4 villages of Virgaon, Rattigaon, Agar and Burgaon to confirm the above reports and study the situation. The person who is assigned this work went to these places to collect the actual fact. The findings of the study are as follows. First one, according to records maintained in the local government hospitals as well as in private nursing homes, the number of patients diagnosed with dengue fever was 23 in Virgaon, 14 in Rattigaon, 22 in Agar and 30 in Burgaon. So, these many number of people were diagnosed with the dengue fever. Okay. While 19 patients suffered from mild forms of the fever, 70 patients presented acute symptoms and needed hospitalization. So, the number is large, that minimum affectation is very less. 19 patients suffered, but 70 patients presented acute symptoms. So, some remedial measures should be taken by the administration. The line of treatment followed was in accordance with that recommended for the management of dengue fever. 40 deaths were confirmed by the hospital and local panchayats. For more than 2 weeks now, no fresh cases of dengue have been reported. Okay. So, this person who has written this report went to all these 4 places, stayed there for some time to collect this actual data from the happenings in the villages. Okay. And he has found that for the current 2 weeks, there is no such fresh case of dengue is reported in these 4 villages. Okay. Conclusion and recommendations. The outbreak of dengue fever appears to have been brought under control before it became an epidemic. It is recommended that the primary health care centers in the district keep a close watch on the condition of the patients suffering from the fever and report other deaths if any. Further, the centers should be instructed to immediately alert the district health center if new cases of dengue fever are reported in the area. So, the conclusion that he has documented that for some time it was there, and for the current 2 weeks no such happenings are taking place in the villages, so that in future if such things, such dengue cases do get admitted, that it should be communicated immediately to the authorities, and the report is written by S. Prakash. Full name is Satya Prakash. Okay. So, this report about the outbreak of dengue fever presents the condition in the 4 villages and some recommendation for the hospital facility, because all these affected people require hospitalization, and it ends up with a positive note that there is no such dengue affected cases in the current 2 weeks, which is a positive sign, and suppose in future it comes, means it should be reported. Sample report 2. Source is Open Polytechnic. The report is written to Tony Farmer, Union Safety Officer, from Tim Dixon, Personal Assistant, Cree Holdings Limited. Date 16th July. Report on safety hazards in main office of Cree Holdings Limited. There are some safety hazards, some problem is happening in the main office, so that this report is intended to document about those hazards and further provide some recommendations. Purpose: you asked me to prepare a report, your memo dated 4th July on actual and potential hazards in our main office. I was asked to present my findings by 22nd July. The communication has come in the form of memo to the employee, so that he is mentioning that date, that memo. So, all those formal communication details must be documented in purpose. Then procedure. When we write the report, as I already mentioned, it should be presented in points. Okay. So, to present the points, instead of mentioning it as A, B, C or D, in report writing it can be documented in this way. Number 1, number 2, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, this can avoid unnecessary confusion. Instead of going for using alphabets, this can be a better option to present your points. Okay. In procedure, I inspected the office area at 3 different times of the day. Okay, probably morning, afternoon and the evening. I discussed hazards with relevant staff working in the main office. So, the other staff members are also consulted. Those who are working in the main office were also consulted by the person who is preparing this report. Examined previous reports on the topic, and some previous reports are also there. So, those reports are also examined before preparing this current report. Findings: electrical hazards. The findings are that it is very clear there are some hazards in electricals. Okay. Although inspected only 6 months ago, the power plugs to 2 computers in the clerical section are cracked across their backs. Some infrastructural drawbacks in terms of electrical department is being documented here. Some cracks are there. The starter to one of the fluorescent tubes in the ceiling lighting is faulty. Staff regularly stand on a chair to twist the starter and get the tube working. So, somebody is standing there to adjust that tube. So, it's a practical inconvenience. The main power input to the office photocopier is worn by constant contact with the filing cabinet. The own area has been mended by being bound with insulation tape. All these kind of simple adjustments, that mending it with sellotape and adjusting the plug now and then, all these things are done by the staff. Then furnishing hazards. The first point is the electricals hazard. The second one is the furnishing hazards. 2 of the filing cabinets are over 20 years old and often jam shut. They can only be opened by tilting the cabinet backwards and holding the cabinet at an angle while supporting it with one's foot. So, all these adjustments are getting done. Okay. The letter racks for incoming mail are secured to the wall by masonry hooks, except for the lower left corner where a large dictionary has been placed to support the weight. All the day-to-day simple adjustments that we do in our day-to-day dealings. Other hazards: the carpet in front of the letter racks has become very worn. There is a small tear that was already caused, a minor accident to a member of staff. See accident report form filed 9th February. Okay. So, you can incorporate the references also in this way, but the actual report should go on in points. The 4th point is conclusion. Electrical hazards in the office are easily rectified without undue expense. There may be other hazards not yet evident. An electrical inspection would be useful. So, in conclusion, it is suggested that it is better to conduct an inspection, okay, related to electricals department. Next point is furnishing hazards indicate a need for repair and or purchase of new equipment. So, this furnishing is also causing some problem. So, it can be either mended or altered with new. Other hazards are limited to the state of the carpet, and replacement of this would reduce the risk of more accidents. So, this carpet, that it can be changed so that in future unnecessary untoward happenings can be avoided. Yes, recommendations. Recommendation point 1, rectify electrical hazards and carry out a full electrical inspection immediately. So, as it is concluded that an electrical inspection is mandatory and it should be conducted immediately. Investigate the cost of repairing and replacing filing cabinets and the letter rack. That letter rack can be replaced. Replace the carpet throughout the main office. So, first one is the electrical inspection, and the second one is that the cabinet and the letter rack can be replaced with the new one, and the carpet also. So, with these recommendations, the unnecessary or untoward happenings could be avoided. Yes, references. References, as I already stated, is important from where you collect this data. And here electrical safety hazards at Creek Holdings Limited, from that place the data is collected. Okay. Then appendix, a staff accident report form number 14443 happened on 9th February is also enclosed here. Appendix, that already staff has met with some accident and the injury has happened, and for which a treatment was also given, and followed by that, and for in the current follow up is also likely to take place. So this appendix is there, but this appendix is not presented in the report. Okay. So that this is a separate data that you cannot incorporate into your report, which you are presenting in the form of appendix. Okay. Followed by the signature of the writer. This is how that we present a report with recommendations. In the works cited column, the information, especially the sample reports are from which source that it is taken is being mentioned here, that you can get it online or in the printed book also. Okay. To conclude, a report is a formal documentation, okay, which should have its own structure. Okay. It is quite formal. It can be for academic or for official purpose. Okay. So it should have its own structure, which is very essential. It should be objective, so that the subjective I should be eliminated, and in the structure reference, introduction, findings more important, conclusion is also equally important. Beyond everything, recommendations play a vital role for further betterment or improvement, or to rectify the lapse, so that report plays a vital role in both academic and professional sphere. Thank you.